If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
We are back. I'm Chris Evan, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, and this is Survival Dispatch News. Tonight, I'm covering the next episode in our Long War series, which is essentially urban versus rural, post 9/11 2.0. But before we get into that, we're going to do the conflicted question of the night, the sit rep, then the main topic. So for those of you not familiar with this, conflictofthegame.com, these are 14 card decks set in post-apocalyptic scenarios. Many of the questions have some element of morality attached to them, hence the name Conflicted. I'm going to read this off now. I'd love to see your answers in the live chat comment section down below. This is being broadcast to 9 different platforms right now. Here we go. Let me get it a little bit bigger so I can read it. Sarge Linus received an interesting offer from a fellow Army veteran to mutiny. Sarge Linus didn't agree with the federal government's actions, so this was an easy choice. If you were in his situation and had to make this decision, what steps would you take to make sure you are forming a bond with a like-minded veteran and not falling into a trap? Interesting question. All right, with that being said, this has been a busy day for news. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can before I get into the main topic, but probably one of the biggest stories of the day is James O'Keefe's latest expose. A Secret Service agent who works for Vice President J.D. Vance has been caught in an undercover video by O'Keefe Media giving the VP's location. He also states that he voted for Biden and hates what the Trump admin is doing with ICE. It's 2 minutes and 14 seconds. I'm going to play the better part of the whole thing. This is downright disgusting, and these people need to be charged the fullest extent of the law. Unbelievable.
Breaking news: the United States Secret Service agent has leaked sensitive information about the vice president and including the president. Breaking news here. U.S. Secret Service agent assigned to Vice President J.D. Vance has leaked information, a holdover from the Biden administration, stating that he voted for Joe Biden, expressing opposition to ICE. Quote, "I hate that shit." He's talking about ICE and the Trump administration immigration policies. Here we go.
Can I see your badge again with your photo? You're so cute.
A current Secret Service agent on Vice President J.D. Vance's security detail.
When he's like walking, like where are you?
Follow him. We'll have a leash, a minimum head, and
gives away vital high-level security information to our undercover journalists.
we have different shifts. We have shift.
Tells her about detailed future travel plans for the vice president, and even sends her pictures with location metadata revealing where the president's convoy was located, potentially violating both the Secret Service NDA and United States federal law. Tomas is fully aware of this. Quote, "I sign paperwork, so if I don't have to get out information, I never do, otherwise I get in trouble." You really have to stand in awe of the lack of self-awareness.
They know secret about what we do.
Tomas Escato also reveals that he voted for Biden and that he hates Trump and Vance's immigration policies.
Did you vote for Biden?
Yes, I did actually.
Yeah. What do you think about like all the ICE stuff going on?
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
They're employing taxes that shouldn't be employed.
You may have seen reports last week that someone attempted to break into Vice President J.D. Vance's home in Ohio. That incident prompted us to take a closer look. What we found. in our investigation was an agent inside the vice president's detail who is actually revealing to a total stranger that the vice president will be visiting his home in Ohio days ahead of time. And while what you're about to see is an important story, the security of the...
So that's the end of the preview of the O'Keefe report. First audience poll of the night. If you think this scumbag needs to be locked up for a very, very long time, put a 1 in the live chat. And here we go. We haven't even got, into second gear yet. And Love DIY 911 has been censored by YouTube for saying Benedict Arnold looking to get her numbers. We're going to approve that. For those who aren't aware, YouTube suppresses the shit out of our big channel, censors our, our audience. A lot of stuff we don't even see. Some stuff is held and a handful of comments get through. But yeah, look at all the ones. It makes me proud to know that our audience is comprised of real Americans, TM, Randy Nance. Let's have a look at the next one. If that didn't get your blood pressure up, this one will. 2 minutes and 28 seconds. I'm probably going to play the bulk of this. Dallas will be the first. Insane. Listen to how they plan a national rollout of their Dewa seminary to train teachers to bring Allah into the classroom. They will simply convert our kids. We want this model to be repeated in every city. 2 minutes, 28 seconds.
Vision has 4 components, which really we wish to replicate in every city, but Dallas would be our first. So we want that model to be replicated in Florida, but we have to bring in Dallas first because that's where the fitna is coming from. Now, we have 4 components. Number 1, by the way, the property is purchased through the Islamic school with Safa. So whatever donation, whatever help we get is going towards the school. So if you're worried about, you're actually donating towards the school, because subhanAllah, the seller are Baptist church, and they didn't want to be known that they are selling it to Muslims amongst their community. That is why we had to go as a school. And alhamdulillah, we have a school called Salahuddin Future Academy, fully functioning. We have actually 6 branches across the country. In New Jersey, in Philadelphia, Chicago, we have 2, Colorado, Maryland, Virginia. So we have locations. And the school is accredited by Cognia. Those who are in the field of education would know. That's a North America accreditation body. And also by Cambridge, which is the international, top of the line in the Middle East and in the Gulf and the Far East, basically. And alhamdulillah, we do something called actually the Islamization of the curriculum. We actually have a model that called the prophetic paradigm. I already, alhamdulillah, authored 2 books. We're going to go up to 6 books in training teachers. How can you bring Allah back into the classroom?
I got to stop it there. I can't listen to the whole thing. My watch is going off. My blood pressure's up. My heart rate's up. CommiTube is censoring, as I mentioned already. So U.S. Marine Corps Devil Dog said porn. And yes, he got censored because somebody mentioned that a guy in one of the videos last night had a porn stash. Somebody else mentioned that these people need to be deported. They got censored by CommiTube. Melody just got censored for saying WTH is wrong with us letting these people in our country. Somebody else said something else just above that. Another one that said the word deport, and they got censored. And I don't know how many we don't even get to see are censored, where they just nuke them before they even come into our moderator panel. But it's insane. But this stuff here is insane. We are at war. This is an invasion. And until people get their head wrapped around that we're in this 5th generation asymmetric warfare with our enemies, it's only going to get worse and worse. I don't think there's a good outcome to this. I'm not a proponent of violence at all, but it may come to that simply based on this type of person. Libs of TikTok says this Muslim is threatening to kill President Trump. Brandon says, holy shit. This guy says, Donald Trump, if you don't stop what you're doing, then I'm going to have to get involved. 20 seconds from this keyboard commando tough guy POS.
Donald Trump, if you don't stop what you're doing, I'm going to have to get involved. And we don't want that to happen, because then the serious things are going to happen and things are going to start escalating to the point where you're going to basically get murked off the face of the earth if I get involved. But I don't want to have to get involved. So, don't be doing this anymore.
I mean, the first thing that pops into my mind is who the F does this piece of crap think he is, man? And clearly he's got a, British accent, which still blows my mind when I see anybody who's not like a traditional British person speak in that manner. But if you think that we need to pull a Metro UK police move on these clowns, so you may recall last year, the chief of the Metro UK police said that he was going to extradite Americans who said anything bad about the migrant invasion of Great Britain. He was going to try and extradite us from America, because clearly he's never heard of this thing called the First Amendment. And if he has, clearly doesn't give a shit. If you think that we should turn the tables 180 degrees and tell Keir Starmer's government that we want this piece of crap extradited to America so that we can convict him and throw him in Guantanamo Bay for the rest of his life, put a 1 in the live chat. I think we're going to see a lot of 1s tonight. I really do. And it does make me proud that all y'all, for the most part, there's always the odd clown who steps in who's either a bot or, somebody who's been programmed like this next one. So I'm going to warn you. I don't know. I probably got about 15 more items open, tabs. I don't know that we'll be able to get through all of them. I'll do my best to get through them before we go into the main topic. But there's profanity in a bunch of these videos of these, cuckoo people. We, not only are we at war, part of the war against us is the pollution of our young minds. And every last one of these women in these videos has got the 1,000 milligram stare. What that means is, that's a term I made up. It means they've taken 1,000 milligrams of SSRIs, which amplify mental illness. They don't help it, they amplify it. And this is the net result. This is part of the warfare being waged against us by the people who hate America, and they're trying to break our country apart. And they're doing pretty dang good, I must say. So the poster says, she seems nice, 25 seconds. I'll just hit play.
Really? You want me? The whole fucking equality. Oh, I love it.
50-50 or whole, motherfucker.
No, 50-50, man.
Whole.
Hold on. We got to get this into frame here. I got a different poll that we're going to do this time. Let me just get the right angle. There we go. Right there. Okay. So don't vote too fast. Wait till you hear the second part of this one. If you think that this young girl is mentally ill, truly mentally ill, put a 1 in the live chat. If you think that she is demonic on some level, put a 2 in the live chat. If you think that she's a mental case who is also just so happens to be demonic, put a 3 in the live chat. I'm curious to see how this shakes out with our audience. 1, she's a mental case. 2, she's demonic. 3, she's both, basically. Let me finish up the end of this video. There's only a few seconds left.
Man.
Whole! Or fuck off! Fuck you!
Oh my God. I got to check what. Right on. So all 9 platforms except for Rumble, the chat gets aggregated into our studio. And then I've got Rumble running over here on another screen. Yeah, that's wow. It's almost 100% across all 9 platforms that she's a mental case and she's demonic. 3's coming out of the freaking woodwork. Arthur says, so sad. No shit, man. That this is war has consequences, right? And here we go. Imagine comparing the 1940s to last year. This is why nobody takes these people seriously. So somebody wrote a really, really good article somewhere around 6 months ago or so, and I can't even remember where I read it. And they basically were lobbying to have the Department of Education completely nuked, which is in the process of happening, and how we went from being number 1 in the world to number 40 out of industrialized nations when it comes to education. And their thesis basically was that we built the most advanced, richest civilization in history. And then we screwed the younger generation by screwing up the education process. And they are no longer intelligent enough to run this thing that we built. Oh, we got lots more censorship coming in. Where do these crackheads come from? That just got censored by CommieTube. Oh my God, this one's funny. And I can't believe that CommieTube caught onto the gist of this, but Todd says she pulls her pants up after she combs her hair. So far, that's the funniest comment of the night. Anyway, listen to this creature here. Look, you can tell right away just by looking at it. I'll zoom in a little bit for you. SSRI eyes. I call it the 1,000 milligram stare. That's the 1,000 milligram stare right there. But she's pissed off because this is her country. It's not our country that we built. It's her country. So everybody needs to get straight with that. 1 minute, 11 seconds.
We are already surpassing Hitler, Nazi Germany. Do you not see this? If we have to debate the morality of does a person deserve to be shot in the face by a masked man who just jumped out of his car working for the government, what have we become? Why are we here scrolling instead of getting out to the streets? I'm so serious, and I'm going to keep scrolling because honestly, nobody would join me if I got in the streets, would they? Because that's the thing, when we go to the streets, we go up the streets with our little plastic signs and we say, stop shooting people, arrest ICE. Do you think that's going to help a woman who just got shot? This is serious. This is no longer political debate online material. This is no longer wave your flag in the air in the streets material. This is civil war, revolutionary bullshit. And I'm scared to say this on the internet because I know the government's watching me. And y'all better be fucking afraid of what you're doing to your people, because we will bite back. This is our country, and we deserve to take it back from the very terrorists running it now.
Alrighty then. I mean, this epidemic of mental illness is just unfrickin' believable. We've got a lot of new viewers on several different platforms. So if you've been with us for a while, forgive me for repeating this, but in 1951, we had over 550,000 inpatient beds in psychiatric care facilities. We now have less than 40,000 beds in psychiatric institutions. And I read something where somebody was a proponent of reducing, mental asylums, that we've moved from locking these people up to we're going to treat them with drugs. 1,000 milligram stare. We're going to give them 1,000 milligram stare and everything's going to be okay. Everything is not okay. And what another massive disservice. You know, what's interesting is that the Chinese Communist Party declared what their 100-year plan was in 1949. And they basically said, look, we can't go kinetic and beat America. So we're going to put this 100-year plan in place where we're going to attack them in all these different ways to divide them, so on and so forth. And this is a good example of that. So update, on YouTube censorship. Don Pye says she gonna blow a gasket, censored by YouTube. I'm gonna prove that. Carl says Uncle Billy got her good. Why on earth that would be censored is beyond me. And a bunch of them went flying by. If I didn't get your comment, I apologize, but there's a lot of stuff going on my screens. Holy crap. Robert Larson says maybe she would pay at dinner and got censored by CommieTube for that. Holy shit. Our good friend in the U.S. Marine Corps, Devil Dog, said, look how her face got, what a Looney Tune whack job dingbat. It got censored. I got to go back and approve Robert. He's approved as well. It's, man, unbelievable. So I'm trying to think of a good poll question for this one here. But if you think that this young person needs intense electroshock therapy, put a 1 in the live chat. If you think that she's a candidate for a full frontal lobotomy, which we stopped doing many, many years ago, put a 2 in the live chat. If, on the other hand, you think she is perfectly normal and she's just misunderstood, put a 0 in the live chat. And I want to see if we have any infiltrators amongst us tonight. Who else? Somebody else just... Oh, somebody, it's going by so fast I can't catch the name, but somebody just got censored for saying dildo queen. Oh my god. Oh my U.S. Marine Corps Devil Dog hammered again by CommieTube for saying she needs a lobotomy. Oh my god. Sean says, when making that video, some Gen X was putting a banana up her tailpipe. Oh my God. Yeah, Cindy Lou, God bless you. She got censored for saying make lobotomies great again. Somebody said she'd look good in a wet blanket, got censored. My CommieTube's out of freaking control. We used to get 100,000 views on our big channel for every episode of Survival Dispatch News. We've got 445,000 subscribers. Last night, when the podcast finished, we had 7,000 views. Absolutely pathetic. Our small channel on YouTube, which is Survival Dispatch News, 4,700 subscribers and had over 5,000 views on it at the exact same time. So if you do the math and you figure it out, that they will smoke the smaller channel on us, of course. Mystic Kitten. Oh my God. Mystic Tennessee Kitten says, I think she's already had the lobotomy and it didn't take. Oh my God. And Terry Snyder says, seriously, she's going to blow an O-ring. I wonder how many people out there on these drugs are going to throw a baby set and seriously damage themselves mentally for real. I'm not sure what a baby set is. It's autocorrect must have screwed the person, but either way, censored by CommieTube. I swear to God, I could do an entire podcast on nothing but these lunatics and seeing what triggers CommieTube into censoring people. At least the stuff we can see. I'm sure there's probably all kinds of stuff beyond what we can see that they nuke before it even comes into the moderator panel. All right. American lives in a small town in Minnesota. She says ICE was at their grocery store, arrested an illegal, and the entire store cheered and clapped. Don't listen to the paid activists. American citizens want illegals gone. You got to love small towns in Minnesota. Honestly, we are so stoked, excited that ICE is in Minnesota. Really excited. 56 seconds.
You know, I love the fucking suburb I'm in. So ICE was just in my suburb at our local grocery store while I was there, and they were grabbing somebody. Nobody in the grocery store stopped them from doing their job. Everybody was clapping and excited about ICE being there. People were hooting and hollering, you know, chanting for ICE. You gotta love small towns in Minnesota, honestly. We are so fucking stoked. And honestly, you know what I did after the ICE agents got done with their job and what they were doing? I said, can I buy you all, like something to drink, something to eat? And I did. And I sure fucking did, because you know what? I'm excited that ICE is in Minnesota. Really excited. I'm not going to tell you the suburb I'm in, but it's close to Stillwater. We'll just leave it at that. Best thing I've seen today is watching an ICE agent arrest somebody and send them back to where they came from. Love it. Super happy about it. Love the suburb I live in, because there was no protesting. Nobody stopped them. Nobody did, because no one gives a shit. We want them gone.
All right. So this should be a pretty straightforward one. If you think that this woman is a real American, TM Randy Nance, put a 1 in the live chat. If you think she's not a real American, seek help, but go ahead and put a 0 in the live chat. Yeah, I got to mix in the odd, good news in with the bad news here. It seems like there's always more bad news than good news, but it is good to see some good news. So we got some crazy reports. So we've actually have a survival dispatch guardian in Venezuela, and we started getting some pictures within 24 hours from 2 different sources. One of them that's not in Venezuela, but is kind of in that region, and one that was in Venezuela, of the soldiers there and the damage that we did to them. And then there was supposedly this guy spoke who was part of Maduro's protective detail force, whatever you want to call it. And I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, look, the Americans have weapons that we can't even imagine, and the damage that they did to us, nobody wants to go against the Americans. They will wipe you off the face of the earth. And you want to talk kudos to our operators. We sent in 20 Delta team guys and pulled that mission off as far as boots on the ground were concerned. Phenomenal. Hundreds of Venezuelan bad guys killed. We unleashed a number of different what are called DEWs, direct energy weapons. So one of them took out all the Timu radar systems bought for billions of dollars from China, who they bragged and said that they could lock onto our F-22s and F-35s. Yeah, good luck with that. And those radar systems were tied into this Russian anti-air missile system. It got smoked as well. And then this guy also reported that we hit them with some sort of sonic DEW that literally made people bleed out of their ears, eyes, and nose. I saw some of the pictures. It's really, really crazy. So I can't verify the veracity of this video, but it's very much in line with some of the reports that we've heard. And we do have some information on DEWs at Survival Dispatch. We've been discussing them for almost 4 years now. We know there's a bunch of this stuff out there. They're typically microwave is the type of frequency that they emit. If you were in a zero humidity environment and you had an object that had zero humidity in it, and you put it in a microwave and you ran it for 10 minutes on high and took it out, it would be the exact same temperature that it went in at. All microwaves do is they heat up anything that has water in it. So imagine having a high power microwave pointed at you. It will literally burn your skin and cook you alive. And I think the very first time that I saw it deployed was during Charlie 19 in Australia. There was a SWAT team that used a microwave DEW to smoke a bunch of people in a protest. It's pretty crazy stuff, but check this weapon out. Repulsor gate sonic pressure weapon. 10 seconds. This is freaking crazy. I'll probably play it twice. So again, I have no way of verifying if this weapon is real. I didn't take the time to dissect this video. It's kind of a hobby of mine. You know, if you got a video that's at 30 frames per second, that means there's 30 still images per second. I like to take them and check them out to see if they're AI. There's lots of tells and giveaways that something's AI. You'll see the coordinates of things like your eyeballs move around from one frame to another in a very unnatural distance and way. And when you look at the still images and you start overlaying them, you can see that. You'll see things like occlusion where you can see through one object and stuff behind. You'll see diffusion around the edges of stuff, especially hair. That's actually the first dead giveaway that a video is AI, is when there are no single strands of hair visible on their head or their face. You know it's AI without even digging deeper in it. So let's see here. Shy Otter. My husband says it looks like she is warming up for a long night at the truck stop. Look at her mouth. Wow. So obviously the timeline there a little bit further back than where we are right now live, but that was just censored by CommiTube. All right. Listen, I know it's going to come out of this poll. It's a rhetorical poll. If you think we got the baddest of the badass military in America, pardon me, and that the rest of the world has every reason to be scared to death of us, put a 1 in the live chat. If you're a communist POS and you don't think that's true, put a 0 in the live chat, but God have mercy on your soul. All right, let's get back to some of the insanity here. So it's not just the women who have lost their mind. It's let me see what the right word is. It's the tenderfoots who basically have the same testosterone, estrogen levels that women do. And he says, she says, whatever. This man says, if you're a Trump supporter, you should not eat sushi, Mexican food, or celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Find some German food. And look, I can zoom in. Y'all know what that is right there? I know you know what that is. That is the 1,000 milligram stare from somebody who was born a male and had that stolen from him at some point along the way. 1 minute, 27 seconds.
I don't know. I think if you voted for him and you're like such a fan that you're wearing.
I think if you voted for him and you're such a fan.
His merch.
Look at that right there. That is the 1,000 milligram stare right there. It's probably like the best that I've seen from one of these Tinkerbells.
Out in public? Like just like all over your body? I don't think you get to go to the sushi restaurant. I don't think you get to go to the Mexican restaurant. I don't think you get to participate in Cinco de Mayo. I don't want to see you with a little sombrero over your head. I just don't think that's for you anymore. That's not the world that you want. That's not the country you want to live in. My husband and I went to sushi tonight.
Oh my God. Husband and I. Well, I was going to do a poll and ask y'all, if you thought this guy was playing for the other team, but he outed it right there. Golly, John Fernandez just got censored by CommiTube for saying he looks like Andy Dick, the comedian. And that was friggin' censored. Teresa just got censored for putting up a pickle and a set of lips. Oh my God. Oh, well done, Teresa. Well done, Teresa. Oh, all right. Back to the Tinkerbell.
We're sitting there, we're having a good time, and then in comes big old Trump, like head to toe Trump supporter. I'm sitting there like eating. I look up and the guy's just like glaring at me. Why are you here? That's just what I want to know. Like, why are you even here? Like, if you had your way, do you think this restaurant would be open? No.
Okay, actually, I just came up with the poll for this one. Oh, we got to check censorship first. Somebody, Derek, just got censored by CommiTube for saying dick. Rhino just got censored for saying rope smoker. But a serious poll question here, and I promise you, I'll get back to this whatever. If you think that this guy is pitching, put a 1 in the live chat. If you think he's catching, put a 2 in the live chat. If you think he's pitching and catching, put a 3 in the live chat. Let's see how this pans out.
Oh no, I think for you get like maybe delis. I don't know, like sandwiches, burgers, sure. Fries, probably. I don't think you get to enjoy the melting pot that is the United States. I think you just get I don't know what's left. German food, something like that. Maybe go find some historically white food somewhere. But I don't think you get to go to sushi. The Mexican place. Chicago's got a great Indian food scene. Don't get to go there. Like none of that. None of that. That's not for you anymore. You don't get to go there.
Oh my God. Talk about the 1,000 milligram stare, but this is the damage that has been done to us by our enemies. I started calling it the pussification of America, late 80s, early 90s. And clearly it's accelerated into high gear. And for those of you who don't know, easy to confirm, by the way, the average 20-year-old today has the testosterone level that a 70-year-old man had in the year 2000. They poisoned the food supply. They put soy in everything. Soy destroys your testosterone production. It's essentially, being neutered through the food. So get this, India. Rhino says, turn that chit off, CHIT. I can't take it. Well, I mean, we can't solve the problem if we don't embrace it first. And let's see. Derek got censored. I knew it. No porn dick. Censored. Maybe. Jeremiah says this guy is a booty bandit. And by the way, all the ones that I read to you is all that I get to see. Again, there's got to be stuff probably I can't see, but oh my God, Heidi Lou's on fire tonight. I can smell AIDS through the screen. So I've approved all of the CommieTube censorship. I'm telling you, I could do an entire podcast on this shit. How did the poll go, by the way? Let's see how the poll went. Oh my God, CDA 71 over on Rumble says 4 gerbils. We were on a motorcycle trip down south, and of course, Key West is rainbow territory. And this is 20 something years ago, by the way. And while we were there, we met this bartender. He was a cool guy. He was one of us. And something came up, about a tent situation or whatever. And he looked at us and he says, I'll tell you what, man, I was sweating like a gerbil in Key West. And I stole that saying from him. And I've used it for over 20 years. And it usually gets a pretty good laugh from people who've never heard it before. But wow. That's I was going to say this like the male version of the 1,000 milligram stare, but I mean, this thing is, I don't know. It might have the equipment, but it's not a true male operator. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Some more craziness in our society. Where on earth did this type of behavior come from? It's got to be more mental illness or demonic possession or combination of both of them. The poster says, I'm glad she got caught, 34 seconds.
Why would you do that? How do you think that's okay? I told you about that. I'm sorry. When I'm watching something, that's what needs to be happening. Hey, no, I just saw that on camera. I set up a camera yesterday because she told me. What did you do? I cannot believe you just hit my mother. First of all, no, the police are on their way. You know how your mother is, right? You don't even want to deal with it. You pay me to deal with it. I'm in school all day, lady. And guess what? Your mother is a trip. All she do is do stuff all day. She throws stuff. But the police are on their way.
Holy crap. I can't watch that without my blood pressure just absolutely skyrocketing. Like skyrocketing. Wow. I don't even know what to say for a friggin' follow-up to that. Absolutely disgusting. I hope that she got in front of a real judge and not one of these activist asshole judges that would let her go. Yeah. So Heidi Lou says, where is that bitch? I don't know. But that's pretty bad stuff. I didn't dissect this for AI per se, like I do when I do a deep dive, but I did zoom in on it and I could see strands of hair. So highly likely that it's not AI. I've never seen an AI video, by the way, that shows individual strands of hair. Pete, let's just call it Pete S. The sad truth is some serious gene pools need to be cleaned up. Got censored by CommieTube. Approved. Let me see here. Cindy Lou just got censored for saying she wouldn't do that again if I was there. Amen to that, Cindy Lou. 100% on board with you there. Absolutely disgusting behavior. Unreal. All right, so I'll scroll up a bit so you can see it's from Cat Turd. FAFO, you loudmouth punk. Minnesota impede patroller gets busted obstructing ICE cops. Should have tased him on the spot. It's 3 minutes and 5 seconds. I'm not playing the whole thing, but I will play enough for y'all to see what a dickhead this guy is. And Husker says, get a rope. Yep. It's just unbelievable. But that last video is very, very disturbing. Like, very disturbing.
Get the fuck in the car. Get fucking arrested. Get the fuck on the car.
Now that's fucking assault.
All I need you're gonna get fucking tased. Don't fucking move, or you're gonna get tased. Because you want to be an idiot. I'm not moving. Because you want to be a fucking idiot. You're a fucking pussy. You're a fucking bitch. And you're gonna learn the fucking hard way.
Just asked you for an ID. That was
I don't
it.
give a fuck what you asked me for, bitch. Shut up. You shut up, bitch. Shut up. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? He has a gun on him. Look at that. A fully registered firearm. Because I'm a U.S. citizen. What's wrong with y'all? Wow. Let's go.
So basically the backstory too is this guy was, impeding ICE officers. They asked to see his ID. He refused to show the ID, and he got to walk away in handcuffs. Good for him. All right, back to a testosterone deficient. I don't know what else to call these guys, but tenderfoots. Well, Maggie, you got everything you wanted, right? What's your response to this feminine liberal man from anti-left memes? 1 minute, 20 seconds.
Well, MAGA, you got everything you wanted, right? You finally won the war on woke. Trans people can't play sports anymore. The government will only recognize 2 genders now, male and female. The federal employees can't put their pronouns in their email signature anymore. DEI is all but dead. Those elitist, woke, liberal universities are losing all of their federal grants and contracts. Elon Musk is taking his chainsaw to the government and firing half of the federal workforce. Donald Trump is going to bulldoze Gaza and turn it into a beachfront golf resort. People lost their student loan forgiveness. You finally got all those tariffs and the tit-for-tat trade war with our closest allies that you wanted so damn badly. Hell, you even got your plastic straws back and the Gulf of America to boot. So, are your lives better now?
Yes.
All that stuff that you were complaining about for the last 4 years, is any of it better?
Yes. If you agree that all of that is better in the past year, put a 1 in the live chat. If you don't think it's better, put a 0. But just look at what's happened to the price of fuel and how that's dropped. People, who say, oh, the president has no control over inflation, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. The cost of fuel is reflected in every single consumer product and non-consumer product that's shipped around the country. You got to have your head so far up your ass to even contemplate saying something so ridiculous. But let's listen to the last little bit here.
Life more affordable? Can you afford groceries, healthcare, childcare?
Oh, you mean Obamacare is too expensive? Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I've been saying since Obamacare was passed that it was written by greedy insurance companies, and I hate being right sometimes, and that is one of them.
New car, mortgage, rent, insurance. Any of that better?
Yeah, you know what? My wife and I have paid for everything for Survival Dispatch since we acquired this company a little over 4 years ago. And we've got good credit. And we just got an offer from a bank. We didn't apply for it. We got an offer from a bank for $300,000, 1% interest if we wanted to take that money to grow the company. And I'm not doing that. I mean, we've spent a lot of money bolstering Survival Dispatch. The previous owner of Survival Dispatch, the guy who found it in the first 4 years, he sunk $300,000 to $400,000 a year in losses into Survival Dispatch. It was like it was his crown jewel kind of pet project, but he got taken advantage of by some very, very shady people. So when we acquired Survival Dispatch, we acquired a company that was losing $300,000 to $400,000 a year. And it's only been the past year that we've barely been in the black. And the only reason we got there is because my wife and I put our savings into it. And you know what? Last year we had people approaching us saying, hey, do y'all want to borrow money? And it was nowhere near 1%. I think the lowest we saw was like 8%. Maybe my wife would know for sure. But a lot of it are these predatory short-term loan companies where it's like 15, 18%. Oh, we got lots of censorship going on. Quick update here. Let's see. Heidi Lou, insurance is high because of illegals. That's part of it. It's a lot of greed on the part of insurance companies. I think this is Andy Dick's boyfriend. These, by the way, are all things that have been censored that I just approved. There's more, but I got to get back on target here. Let's just play the finish of this tenderfoot.
No? It's almost as if trans people weren't the reason your lives were so miserable. Some of you aren't ready to have that conversation yet. Take all the time you need with it.
Wow. What a friggin' loser. All right, next one up. Leftist is bragging that her 16-year-old daughter called a conservative classmate a Trumpy motherfucker, claiming she's raising her right 17 seconds. And I don't even have to hit play. Check it out right there. 1,000 milligram stare. You can see it a freaking mile away. Soulless, absolutely soulless. 17 seconds.
My 16-year-old daughter just called one of her classmates a Trumpy motherfucker, and she said it just so easily, it just flowed. So if you're wondering who's raising their child right, it's me.
You don't even know what to say about this, but these are the people who are screwing up the youngins of our society. The bearded patriot just got censored for saying hemorrhoid liquor. Anyway, like I say, I don't know what to say about this lunacy. Let's just go on to the next one, because here we are. We're back to another tenderfoot here. So every time I see myself in the future, I see myself as a woman, as a mother. 3 minutes, 12 seconds, not a hope in hell that I could stand anywhere near that long of listening to this flamer. But we'll play a little bit of it. Again, this is part of the asymmetric 5th generation irregular warfare that's been waged on our country for at least 80 years by our enemies. We are getting hit from every which way possible, imaginable. The devil dog get censored again. I'll prove it in just a second. All right, let's hear what Tinkerbell has to say here. Maybe we need
because it's so emotional. So it feels impossible for me to make this video for some reason, because it's so emotionally charged right now. But I have to tell you some of the good things that.
So nice pink fingernails. Again, here we go. Check it out. Look at the eyes. 1,000 milligram stare.
They're happening. I've been talking to my doctors and my therapist a lot about how I am more of a woman than I initially anticipated. I don't know why that feels like such a huge thing to say. I don't want to leave behind anybody in the non-binary community. I will never forego that label. It will always feel like something accurate to me. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Why is this such a big thing? I have felt more of a call than ever to get in touch with who I truly am. And it's just coming out as a woman every single time I see myself in the future. I see myself as a woman, as a mother. I see myself.
So I've mentioned this before. I got to mention again, because like I said, we've got a bunch of new followers on different platforms. There was a long-term study that was done to determine why people like this think that they're the opposite sex, that they're a woman, and why, certain women think they're the opposite sex. And I be honest with you, I don't remember what the female part was, because the male part was so shocking. It basically concluded almost 100% of the men who thought they were a woman, that were studied for multiple years, all had a mental affliction called autogynephilia. And what autogynephilia is is these mentally ill men who get sexually aroused and turned on by wearing women's clothing. When people say these are sexual deviants, the science, the studies, everything supports that. So, all right, let's see what else. John says, not a woman if it has a ding dong at their sex, censored, approved. He's a gun gobbler, says Todd, approved. Legina needs a basic anatomy lesson by our good friend Teresa. She got censored. Show. Holy cow, they're rushing in here. Flush dat turd guy got censored for that. Approved. 11cc, 11c com. They want to bunghole themselves. Oh my God. God, they're just rolling in. Tim, I don't understand at all. 3 holes are better than 2. We got the bestest audience. Wow. Jeremiah got censored for saying vaginas. Rhymes with penis. Too freaking crazy. Golly, the censorship is just unbelievable. All right, next one up. Ever notice it's the leftist cult members always claiming MAGA is a cult? Again, unless something's really compelling and it's causing a big stir, I don't usually take the time to dissect videos in a deep forensic manner as far as being AI. This could very well be AI. I don't think it is, because there's another person in this video and I'm zoomed in on it and it looked her hair looks pretty realistic. 1 minute, 6 seconds.
I am so glad I am not a MAGA cult member. You could have fooled me. I thought you.
So see what I mean? You see these strands like this where my cursor is? You will never ever see that in current generations of AI. What you will see is all around the outside of the hair, you'll see massive diffusion. So think fuzziness. See how we can see here these strands and the door behind it? You won't get that from an AI video. That would all be super blurry around those edges.
You're definitely some sort of cult member with all that going on. I am completely independent and I do my own research on everything. You researched how to make yourself look, the word odd. Eccentric. We'll use that word. I am not one of those ignorant people, and I can live my days in peace knowing that I am a good man. No, you're not. You're not a man. You're not. That's where I'm gonna stop you. You're not a man. You're female. Who has compassion for all and doesn't make himself to be obnoxious in public. Everything about that is obnoxious. Everything. The attitude, the hair, the facial hair, the piercings, the whole thing. It's all obnoxious. So you failed at not being obnoxious in public. You failed terribly.
Thank God there's still some youngins around us that are mentally stable. So this is unbelievable how bad this girl is with the 1,000 milligram stare. And again, apologies for the language, but you know what? It doesn't do us any good sticking our head in the sand. Like, I vehemently disagree with all forms of censorship, even when something is really violent, like cartels dismembering people, because it insulates people from just how evil our enemies are and the truth. And again, so I don't believe in censoring stuff, but they almost always, and yeah, I throw the odd cuss word out there, maybe more than the odd cuss word, but you know, believe it or not, you can check this out. By the way, there's at least 3 studies that show that people who not cuss constantly, but cuss probably at the level I do, are more trustworthy than the people who never cuss. Take it for whatever it's worth, but check this 13 seconds out.
I've been called a cunt, I've been called a bitch, but you know what I've never been called? A Republican. What y'all trying to do?
I gotta get zoomed in on here. There you go. 1,000 milligram stare times, I don't know, times many times. Unbelievable. we'll skip past that one. Nick Sorter, laughing my ass off. More and more leftists are getting sprayed in the face for harassing ICE agents in Minneapolis. ICE agents have had enough, and they're getting no help from local police. Keep pushing. ICE patriots have your back. 1 minute, 16 seconds. This is actually a pretty funny video. See how you can see these strands of hair? It's not the greatest, you know, that's a little bit blurry, but if you zoom in, you can see individual strands of hair. This is a real video. What exactly do you think that creature's up to? Tell me what you think she's up to in the comments or the chat. See all the strands of hair here? You will not see that in AI video. This is 100% real. I think I figured it out. I think that's the lesbian mating call. If you think that that's the lesbian mating call, put a 1 in the live chat. If you just think that they're cuckoo, put a 2 in the live chat. And if you think they're crazy lesbians doing the lesbian mating call, put a 3 in the live chat. Look at this. And by the way, if you just quickly glanced at this picture, would you potentially conclude that this was Rosie O'Donnell? Because I would. I mean, I don't know why these, you know, they all look the same. Some of that. Checking in on censorship central here. David was censored for saying on the previous video, or one before that, maybe he wishes he was an Oscar Mayer wiener approved. Deuce says, gonna have to wash the gay off me after this got censored. We'll show that we're all are going to have to do that. I mean, we may even actually have to put a discount code out there so that we can get a really good deal on group therapy sessions after when I do the podcast by myself. Let me see. Robert got censored for saying cockala cuckoo. Oh, that golly, this stuff's just rolling by. Man, Todd says got censored for saying just stay on the porch. Let me prove Robert on that one. There's a ton of them this time around. She's almost making a perfect O with her mouth. Censored. Okay. The Call of the Wild. The Call of the Wild. And with Dash is joining the rest of the words together like a lot of puss. Oh my God. We have the bestest audience. That's friggin' awesome. All right. Oh, somebody else just got censored. Hump a lot of puss mayhem. Charles got censored for that. I'll approve it, Charles. It's all good. Whew. Alrighty then. So next one up, you will notice that I don't even have to start the video. 1,000 milligram stare right there. Y'all got to help me make 1,000 milligram stare go viral. I invented the term myself because I was trying to find a good way of communicating SSRIs without being too generic. But that's it right there. So part of this asymmetrical warfare that's been waged against us to divide our country is to convince people to commit genocide against themselves. And that's literally what this is. 1 minute.
I'm going to be honest. I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons, because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do. And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman. If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege. I think we're missing an opportunity when kids.
Yes, because white males and the non-mentally ill white females, we get so many breaks, right? I mean, we get to pay for everybody else's bullshit. There was somebody wrote a really compelling article recently who said that the reason that white couples are not having children at the pace that the people who are on SNAP, EBT, etc. are, is because we're paying for their children and we can't afford to have our own. At least our younger ones. We're past that at 56 years old here, but wow. All right, carrying on.
When kids have a moment to reflect about how the color of their skin does and does not allow them to move through the world, running to them and trying to stifle that and trying to say you shouldn't feel bad, so we don't want to ever expose you to something that is going to make you have to pause and have maybe some internal feelings. It's a missed opportunity for some really good dialogue.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say to that one, but on to the next crazy. Just in, an old white liberal lesbian chucked a water bottle at agents outside ICE Minneapolis and then attempted to run away. But she didn't get far as agents sprinted after her and brought her to the ground. These idiots don't learn. 2 minutes and 6 seconds, not going to play the whole thing. This is the offender right here, by the way.
Okay, I'm on it.
Did you hear that pussy in the background have some cardio, bitches?
Back up. Let's see if this is back up. Fuck you. Back up. Fuck you. What'd you eat for breakfast? Couldn't have been bacon, right? That'd be cannibalism. Back up.
They tried to hit her with a car. Yeah, okay. There's no evidence of that. I've watched a couple different videos of this, by the way. Just another insane person who said their brain turned to shit. And of course, the hair color, of course, gives it away here. So Minnesota resident reporting ICE came in and took the entire Hong Kong buffet Elk River staff. Every single worker they had was an illegal. Her husband went to get takeout and saw it happen. This is where all of our jobs went, to cheap, illegal foreign labor. Businesses should face consequences. 1 minute, 7 seconds.
ICE just came in and took the entire staff of the Elk River Hong Kong buffet. They came in and they took everyone without checking for papers. They just abducted them. Husband left to go get takeout, and the Hong Kong buffet is one of his favorite restaurants. Comfort food, something to feel better about what's going on right now in the world. But you can't escape it. You can't hide from it. It's in my backyard now. If you don't know where Elk River is, we're about 30 miles north of Minneapolis. It's not really the metro anymore. We call anything that is a suburb of Minneapolis the cities, like Brooklyn Park, Golden Valley, Minnetonka. It's one thing to watch it from behind a screen. It's a spectacle. You're helpless. We can't interact. But it's another thing when it's right in front of you. And you have the choice to do something, to say something, even if it means you might lose everything.
So, she's got two markers, right? She's got the goofy purple hair. I don't understand how anybody could think that that's attractive. And then she's got the nose ring. I actually think she might have two nose rings there. And I'm trying to remember what Jeff called it, the mentally ill ID bracelet, something to that effect. But look at the eyes. No soul behind them at all. Another 1,000 milligram stare. So I want to show you all something quickly before we get into the main topic. So this is our new Element server that you guys have heard me talk about. And we used to have 6 or 7 channels on Signal. We still have a bunch of people on Signal. The onboarding team is kicking ass, migrating them over to our new server here, but you can see that we've got the Guardians chat, which you guys are used to. That gets about 12,000 comments a week. The library, which is going to be populated with easy download, so it's read-only. Crusaders read-only news channel. Ask Me Anything for asking questions of people at SD and our guests. Threatwire, which is for security, and Intel. Survival and Prepping Speaks for Self. That channel has exploded, by the way. 50% of our audience, by the way, is female. When I acquired Survival Dispatch, it was 96% men, 4% women. It's now 50-50. Emergency notification channel. So anybody who subscribes to Survival Dispatch, Guardians, we send out emergency notifications to your email, to our Substack, to the SDEN Signal channel, the SDEN's Now Element channel. If you have POC-Link radios, we send it out to them as well. And we did a test recently, and not one single person came back and said, hey, I didn't get a notification on any device. Like, everybody got the warning one way or another. We've got another one called Gearheads. It's for discussing gear. We created a new channel called Comms. Guardian Angels, I won't click on that one. That's the private women only channel that we've started. The Insane Asylum, which covers all this crap that we just watched at the beginning. We've got a tech support channel, and we have a cooking channel, but Teresa came up with this idea to call it Heaven's Kitchen instead of Hell's Kitchen. So we renamed it. We had one regional channel over on Signal, the Southeast, as a test, and now we've got two on the new server, the Southeast and Texas there. So I wanted to show that to y'all as far as the benefits that the Guardians get, because right now for the next, 4 days and call it 4 hours, we're running a 40% off promo membership drive on Survival Dispatch Guardian memberships. So instead of paying $7.99 a month, you pay $4.79 a month. Or if you pay annual, instead of $79.99 a year, you pay $47.99 one shot for the year. I only do these types of membership drives occasionally, and I'm doing it now because of the new server that I built. That's my server. It's capable of handling up to 200,000 people, and it's our platform, our server. We are totally insulated from Big Brother. Even if they told our ISP to turn off the internet connection, I get daily server images that I can redeploy to 3 different data centers offshore and have us back up and running in no time. Why am I doing this? Because the power pendulum will swing back to the left soon enough, and they're going to go back to censoring and deplatforming us. And I thought, you know what? I got to build the community for our people now before that happens. I want to be proactive instead of being reactive. So the next little thing that you get as far as being part of our community, check this out. Dr. Mike and I have spent an obscene amount of money in the past few months on ham radio gear, especially shortwave HF stuff and antennas. This antenna is nothing that's really super duper special, but it comes with these janky connectors for all the radials. So you've got up to 80 feet of wire going in every direction. By the way, I use this type of antenna horizontally for close range communications, not vertical, which is further away. And this is a portable antenna. This is not like one of my full-time antennas, not one of my high quality antennas. It's not bad. It's pretty good. Check this out though. See these solid wires here? Well, they're not wires, solid pieces of metal stingers. 45 seconds. We took this antenna, invested a very little amount of money into it. We can mount it vertically, horizontally, and we do not have to have about 150 feet of space to run out all the radials because of the stingers I put on. This is the type of content that typically only goes to our Guardians. We spend the money. We do the testing. You guys get the benefit from it. All right, check this out. Super antenna MP1 DXG. 80 meter coil on it, set at 3.8 megahertz. Chameleon antenna blank, chameleon antenna solid radial kit so that you don't need wire radials that are upwards of 80 feet long running in every direction. Set it at 3.8 megahertz. Check this out. 1.08 SWR at 3.825 megahertz. Doesn't get better than that, and a whole lot faster, easier, quicker to deploy with nowhere near the size of yard required when you're using wire radials on this sucker. So our part of the country, by the way, 80 meters is really important. That's 80 and 40 are the workhorses, but 80 especially after dark for close range comms. It's really, typically shortwave HF has a skip zone. Like, you can't talk to people in your immediate vicinity. You can if you've got good ground. We don't have good ground here in Florida. It's sand, so essentially glass. Glass doesn't conduct worth a shit. So if you head over to survivaldispatch.news and sign up as a Guardian, that promo is only running for the next 4 days and 3 hours and 49 minutes. So get it while it's hot. I figured we're also past the Christmas deal, so people are back into thinking about doing stuff for themselves. Last quick one, I'm going to cover this more later. Last year, Carnival, 49% year over year increase in their cost of their beef. They just got hit with another 15% raise. They've been holding the line as they sell their old stock at the old price, but 2 days from now, they have to put the price up. They're almost out of everything that they had. So if you sign up for a subscription, they can't change the price on you for 12 months because some states don't allow that, and you can lock in your price. So you could potentially see like a 50% ROI just investing in Carnival beef, whether you eat it now or you stack it up for prepping. So with that being said, I'll talk about Wasatch Wagyu and discount codes and all that stuff in a little bit here. So the main topic tonight is cities versus countryside. And all this stuff is in a post 9/11 2.0 scenario, right? So the rural/urban divide, rescue control, ideology, and security needs split urban centers from rural regions. So quick context background for our new viewers. When Khalid and I wrote this 144 episode series, usually when somebody puts out a series of videos, people who didn't see the first one won't watch the second and third because they feel they're missing the context. So what we did to address that so that all 144 episodes have value, all 144 episodes can be watched by themselves or not. You can watch them in any order you want. You can watch one here or there. Is that they are all post 9/11 2.0. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of what 9/11 2.0 is. This comes directly from Khalid's intelligence, by the way, his boots on the ground in Afghanistan and the Middle East. So this is not, through, call it like the interwebs. This is real intelligence on his part. 9/11 2.0 is the Islamic Army, which is all the bad guys now underneath one banner, attacking 10 to 15 American tier 2 cities, population 100,000 to 500,000, simultaneously or in series across the country. Each city will have 10 to 15 sleeper cells. Each sleeper cell will have 4 to 12 jihadis. These are called CCTAs, complex coordinated terrorist attacks. We're probably looking at 2,000 to 3,000 highly trained jihadis in this attack. If you watch the movie Hotel Mumbai, you'll see what happened in Mumbai in 2008. And it's a good example of what CCTAs look like. They had 2 command and control teams, one in Pakistan, one in Afghanistan, that was monitoring live news feeds and social media and telling them, hey, don't go to that target, go to this other target. Hey, wait where you are right now. First responders are on their way. Get the VBIEDs ready to go, like vehicle-borne IEDs, et cetera, et cetera. And they essentially shut down a city of 18 million people for over 60 hours, hundreds of people killed. It took commandos landing on the top of the Taj Hotel and kicking in the door in over 300 rooms to unsiege the building. 9 of the jihadis were killed. 1 survived. He was eventually put to death after being tried and convicted. But it's the blueprint for CCTAs. So they will attack soft targets first and foremost. Think children's schools. Then they'll stop and they'll wait for the first responders to show up. Then they will detonate bombs to kill as many first responders as they can. A number of them will be wearing uniforms of first responders. We've had a record number of police uniforms, paramedic uniforms, ambulances, cop cars, National Guard uniforms, and National Guard Humvees stolen in the past 18 months, 19 months. It's not uncommon. It's not a new tactic for the jihadis to dress up like these guys. The best piece of advice we can give you is if you are so fortunate/unfortunate to be on the X during one of these attacks, do not let normalcy bias kick in and say, I dodged a bullet, I survived it. and then you see somebody approaching you thinks a first responder, just get as far away as fast as you possibly can, because the secondary and tertiary attacks will be worse than the primary attack is. So they hit all these soft targets, working their way towards something that each of these cities will have in common, and that is one level 1 trauma center. Typically, the tier 2 cities that have one level 1 trauma center don't have any other large cities in close proximity that they can call upon for mutual aid. Therefore, the people who are grievously injured and need level 1 trauma care, they're going to be triaged. You'll have paramedics looking at them and say, man, if this guy doesn't get attention within 20, 30 minutes, he's going to be dead. And it's 2 hours away to the closest level 1 trauma center. That person's not going to make it, number one. Number two, huge psychological impact. When these hospitals, these level 1 trauma centers are sieged, you're looking at 3,000 to 5,000 hostages that will go on for days. It takes very specialized people like Delta Force. And the FBI has 140 assets that comprise 4 HRTs, hostage rescue teams. LAPD, probably the best SWAT team in the country. They're kind of prepped, but we don't have enough resources to unsiege these, buildings quickly. It'll go on for a number of days. You'll see horrific videos of Americans being tortured, killed, maimed, beheaded, you name it, until we do unsiege them. Unlike Russia, we don't believe in killing the hostages along with the hostage takers and just chalking it up to the way we do business. The Russians have done that multiple times. Look up the Chechen hostage situation at the Moscow Theater in 2002. It's precisely what the Russians did there, or the FSB did there, I should say. So with that being said, there is an airplane component. Go look up Bojinka, Bojinka. It's a term, makeup word that Osama bin Laden came up with in the mid-1990s. The air attack will be very similar to that 9/11 2.0. So with that out of the way, let's get into the first chapter here. And I'm just going to get my notes up in front of me because I don't have Alzheimer's, but I do have some timers. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget. All right, here we go. So segment 1 I titled Resource Control Under Siege. So right after the attacks hit multiple cities, urban folks face instant chaos. Grocery shelves wiped out, which we see whenever we have hurricanes approaching at the last minute. They're poof, everything's gone. Delivery systems not functioning, and people are going to have to make tough choices. And, think about in your neighborhood, if you live in a city, of how the people who don't have food are going to react when they can smell you cooking food from your house. Opportunity to get really ugly really, really fast. So in the rural areas, in the countryside, most families that I know of, at least, I'm a country person myself, have been, stocking up for years. It's not like it's not some new concept to most rural people. And they've typically, even if they don't farm vegetables, most of them have a garden in their backyard or on their property. You've got community co-ops. You've got hunting is a much bigger thing. And all of those things combined make food, hunger, even an extreme word like famine, into a more manageable situation than people who live in cities. And not on purpose, but the way this will play out is you will have winners and losers in the supply game, and it will light a fuse for bigger fights over resources being trucked in, bigger fights over everything you can imagine. Now, think about what happens on Black Friday, where you have people beat the shit out of each other for a TV that's on special. What do you think they'll do when they don't have any food? And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be really ugly. And eventually those people in the city, if they have gas, they're going to go to the country areas and try to find sustenance there. It's interesting. The family, husband and wife who started the conflicted card game stuff, there's 14 of these, by the way. They bought this large ranch, like 300 plus acres in Idaho. Unfortunately, they ended up getting divorced, but when they moved into that community, they had made some money in real estate, and there's not a lot of neighbors, but the neighbors would come by, introduce themselves, and they would say, well, what do y'all do? And they would say, well, we have this thing called a conflict of the game, and would you like to try it? Would you like to play? And one of their neighbors said, they all played it, but one of their neighbors, as they're playing the game, there was a question that came up, something along the lines of, you failed to prep when times were good. What is your plan, or something to that effect, in an SHTF situation? And this guy's like, I don't prep. I'm never going to prep. I don't need to prep. I've got guns. I'll just take whatever I want at gunpoint. So some of the time that's just, bravado on display, but other times I would argue that it's very telling. They're telling you who they are and how they would handle things. So it's important that you don't blab to people, as far as what your preps are, what you have, where you have it, all those sort of things. So normally when I have a panel with me, I have a handful of questions queued up to ask the panel, and I'll just throw a couple of them out there right now. So one of the questions I would ask if the panel was with me tonight, Tuesday nights, it's either just me or it's just Khalid or it's just the two of us. How quickly do you think urban areas would turn to rationing food and water, and what black market headaches would that bring? Well, the rationing is going to start right away. So imagine the scenario, right? You've got all of these attacks happening. You've got it happening on soft targets. So nobody's sending their kids to school. Not everybody can work from home. Many people can, thanks to Charlie 19, but a lot of people can't work from home. So which means they're not going to work. They're staying home to protect their families. Okay, so who's packing the food in distribution centers? Who's trucking the food? Who's working in the grocery store? There will be extreme demands on a very fragile food supply chain. It'll be worse in the blue states where they have regulations out the yin yang, and you can't just come in from out of state and offer help to their people. Red states, maybe not so bad, but it's still going to be a thing. It's still going to be a serious thing. How fast is it going to happen? Within 24 hours, maybe sooner. You will see store shelves picked clean in the blink of an eye. A lot of it will be looting, of course. Randy likes to tell the story when Baghdad fell. We had 300,000 troops there. The first 24 hours, everybody looted everything they could get their hands on. Then the marauders came out and stole all the stuff from the people who looted it. And the only way that the city was returned to some element of stability was because we had 300,000 troops, in theater. Clearly, that's not going to apply to 10 to 15 cities simultaneously going through this stuff. So you could expect some big strains very quickly on food supply. I can tell you from firsthand experience. I don't know how many hurricanes Cindy and I have been through. I mean, it's a ton, and we're preppers. Most people in the years gone by were not preppers in Florida, but that has exploded, by the way, since Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Irma. The dollar spend on prepping here in Florida is pretty astronomical compared to what it used to be. So I used to joke and say, well, a lot of people don't realize that when a big hurricane approaches us, that you wouldn't believe it, but the cows stop making milk, the chickens stop laying eggs. And it was just a humorous way of saying basically that stuff disappears off of shelves in the blink of an eye. And then it doesn't get restocked because as the hurricane approaches, nobody wants to send their trucks in. Can't send their trucks in, roads are closed, states of emergency, so on and so forth. And it takes some time afterwards to dig out from a really big hurricane. Even like a Cat 3, depending on where it hits, can lay you up for an extended period of time. The point I'm trying to make is we know what that looks like as far as scarcity of food is concerned. So unfortunately, we have a lot of people in cities who live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't prep because they can't afford it, or even the ones who can afford it are just, they think, oh, this could never happen to America. And if you get pushback from somebody on this, just ask them this question. Say, okay, so the Biden installation through the southern border wide open, northern border to a certain extent as well, and allowed tens of millions of people into our country who hate our guts, hate our way of life, and you don't think any of them are terrorists when we've known that we've had Hezbollah terror cells in our country since the early 1990s. And that's direct from Don Mann and Jeff MD, who were part of the teams that were tracking those guys in the 1990s. But point being is that we have a shit ton. So then you have the head of the NCTC, National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, a month ago, goes in front of Congress and says, look, we have 2,000 Al-Qaeda soldiers from Afghanistan that Mayorkas let into the country. And then we have another 16,000 that came in, not from Afghanistan, but other countries that are a mix of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and all the other terrorist shitbags. That's 16,000 plus 2,000, 18,000. We have 200,000 SIAs that were released into the country. So these are people that CBP had their hands on them and then was forced to let them go into the interior. An SIA is a special interest alien, and the only way you can be designated an SIA is you have to be a terrorist or a known terrorist associate. Well, for every rat you see, there's 1,000 that you don't see. It's not a stretch to think that we have many hundreds of thousands of terrorists in this country. 9/11 2.0 will not be a one and done. It will kick off terrorist attacks on a regular basis. People are always asking us, by the way, when is this going to happen? Khalid's attack window is opening here very shortly. So kind of mid-January to mid-March is where it currently looks like things are lining up for them to attack us. It's not an exact science, but that's based on the intelligence that he has. With that being said, then people say, well, what time of day is it going to happen at? Blah, 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 blah. So if you go to the religionofpeace.com, you'll see that there's been over 48,000 jihadi terrorist attacks since 9/11 1.0. And I took all of those attacks and I sorted those attacks for anything that resembled a CCTA, complex coordinated terrorist attack. Then I took that and I fed it into 3 different models and said, what do you see for patterns in this? And when do you think this would kick off in, the continental United States? They all came back and said the same thing. They said, 09:30 Eastern time, kids are in school, most people are at work, roads are plugged up with traffic, morning flights are in the air. And then it would cascade across the country. So it doesn't mean it hits at 09:30 East Coast and 08:30 Central time, so on and so forth. It means that there will be probably just enough of a delay as it rolls across the country. But if you read Khalid's assessment, the eastern half of the country is in far more danger than the left. Now, the left side, yes, it's in danger. The west side, I'm just used to calling California the left coast. But there's another angle to this. So just by fluke, we broke the news last spring because Randy, being a Green Beret, got a notification on his phone that said, hey, GWAT vets in Florida. So he served at USACOM in Tampa, being a Green Beret. And there was intelligence that came out in the spring, very credible intelligence that said that they're going to attack our GWAT vets. They want extreme retribution. We knew about this. We just didn't know the size and scale in the cities, and Tampa was one of them. Coronado Island is one of them. Anybody familiar with that? San Diego, that's a Navy base. There's SEAL Team 6 is headquartered out of there, the dev group. If I recall correctly, keep in mind I have sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget. I know for sure there's a bunch of SEALs there because I've had conversations now with 7 families out there, some of whom have exfilled the area because Coronado Island is particularly vulnerable to being cut off. There's a bridge, obviously, that takes people over to the island. But part of the attack that will happen before 09:30, whether it be East or West Coast, will be hit squads potentially in the middle of the night, going and wiping out GWAT vets and their families. Doesn't mean that the attacks on them only will happen in the middle of the night, but it does mean that they'll carry on throughout this assault, and they'll carry on after 9/11 2.0. So again, with all of that being said, at the end of the day, rural people on the whole prep, especially farmers, because farmers know it's feast or famine and that you got to save for rainy days. I've met some farmers over the years, many of them friends, who are amazing businessmen because they work in such a volatile industry. So one of the other questions I had in segment 1 before I move on to segment 2 is, could we see armed standoffs at city borders over supply trucks? And how might that change who calls the shots on resources? You are literally going to see shipments, regardless of the mode of transportation, whether it be, semis, whether it be rail car, you name it, that will be attacked and looted. At the perimeter of cities, absolutely, because the bad guys are, many of them are fairly smart, and they'll know if they can intercept that stuff before it comes into the city, that they have less chance of, being stopped, whether it be by cops, military, or, just good people out there sort of thing. So I would actually argue that the perimeter of cities will be one of the most dangerous zones, because that will be where probably the best opportunity is to hijack these guys, the good guys, for supplies. At the end of the day, the best thing that you can do is make sure you've been prepping, and if you haven't been prepping, put as much as you can into food right now. So I went and ordered some, I'm addicted to Nutrient Survival's freeze-dried potatoes. And I mean, they're just amazing. And no, I don't get paid anything by them or anything like that. And so I went and ordered a bunch, few $100 worth. And my wife was like, "Hey, well, what do you want me to do with this? You told me to go buy some Nutrient Survival potatoes." And I did. And I see you spent money there. Should I cancel? I was like, hell no, don't cancel it. Stack that shit up, because we're going to eat it. It's amazing. But put whatever you can into food now, now. Food and water. And, if you haven't been able to stack stuff up, and you have any wiggle room at this point in time, it will suit you really, really well. It will behoove you to start stacking up with whatever you have available, in your budget. So segment 2, I titled Infrastructure Cracks and Self-Reliance. So cities always grind to a halt when, power grids go out, water mains burst. We had a water main burst next to a sewer main during Matthew. Contaminated the municipal water supply. There was no water for 3 weeks. We have backup power sources, but let me tell you something. It sucks not having power in Florida, especially hurricane season when it's hot out. It sucks even more not having water, so that you can, basic hygiene plus flush your commode, all of those things come into play. But at the end of the day, when those grids go out and you've got people stacked up in high rises, many of them don't have backup power sources. So the elevators stop working. They may be left with just emergency lights. And, they require outside assistance intervention that's not coming. It for a whole bunch of reasons. You got first responders tied up dealing with the terrorist attacks. You've got first responders saying, "You know what? My family is home alone. And my family is more important than these other people." And I can't say that I blame anybody who feels that way. So the people trapped in these buildings with no power, no food, no water, what are they supposed to do? Short of getting on the Ankle Express and exfilling the building on foot, they don't have a whole lot of choices. And again, there's nobody coming to rescue you at all. There's nobody coming. People have to understand that. Americans have outsourced our security for many, many decades, and which is very unfortunate. And I would just encourage people to come to, grips with the fact nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to protect you. When this level of disaster occurs, you are on your own. You are your own first responder. So now rural setups, on the other hand, are wired for off-grid living. They have to be for a lot of farmers, especially who have livestock and they have wells. So they need backup power source to be able to, water their herds. And so they're prepared for this. I don't know a single farmer, by the way, who's not prepared for this. And I know a lot of farmers. And at the end of the day, there's such a distinct difference between the mindset of rural Americans versus many urban Americans. And especially when it comes to self-sufficiency. You want an interesting number? At the end of World War II, 50% of Americans got 100% of their vegetables from their backyard garden. That number today is less than 1% of Americans. And the Biden installations, USDA floated a thing out there where they wanted you to register your garden. Why do you think that was? Well, they can't tax your garden. They can't seize anything from your garden. They wanted to build a database of the handful of Americans who still have their own gardens so that they could say, well, you're going to have pay a fee to use, to have a backyard garden. Because again, why? It always comes back to money and power. Always follow the money and you'll figure it out. So at the end of the day, some of these things that normally we would consider small gaps turn into massive breakdowns during this type of an emergency. And there will be a lot of people who expire just based on the fact that their medication's no longer refrigerated, their insulin. You're going to have people who, die because they need assistance with various things and nobody's coming to assist them. You're going to have people die because they have no food and water. If you think FEMA's coming to save you, it ain't going to happen. You got to realize that. And even if they did, ask anybody who's ever been in a FEMA refugee camp if they would ever go back to a FEMA refugee camp. And they will tell you absolutely not. So that comes to the next point, right? If you have stuff, you have preps, but you're in an urban location, you had nowhere to exfil to. As soon as anybody gets a whiff that you have preps, they see your lights on, anything like that, you have got a big old bullseye on you. And here's the deal. It doesn't matter how much you harden your home. If somebody wants in and wants your stuff, they will get in and they will take your stuff. And if you make it such a pain in the ass for them to get past your hardening, they'll set your home on fire. The jihadis frequently, in addition to Molotov cocktails, will set tires on fire and throw them through your windows. So target hardening is good. Thieves usually take the path of least resistance. You have a hard target of a home. You've got, solar powered motion detection lights. You've got an alarm. You've got dogs. You've got a steel door, on a storm door on front of your regular man door. You've got things like Robolinis under your windows, which we do here in Florida. They get these crazy needles on them that'll go through anything, leather, you name it, canvas, hurt like hell. Nobody's going through Robolinis to crawl in your window sort of thing. But when, things get desperate people will do whatever it takes to try and take whatever you have. So you have to be very, undercover when it comes to this stuff. You have to be discreet would be the right word. So with that being said, I don't think it takes longer for people to realize when you stop and think about it, that the cities are going to be downright vicious, clashes, thievery, all the bad guys will come out of the woodwork. And I will say this much, no matter how bad a situation is, there is always a reckoning. There will be certain people who think that they can just go hog wild and murder their fellow Americans and steal their shit. There will be a reckoning. There is always a reckoning. And that's not a good plan, period. It's not only immoral, but it's not a good plan from a long-term perspective. So with that being said, let me just throw a couple quick things out there, because at the end of the day, we are a survival prepping company. And we talk a lot about terrorism because it's an imminent threat to us. But everything that we've been counseling people to do for years applies to all calamities, whether it's a terrorist attack or hurricane or something else. So you may still have a little bit of time where you can do something before the shit hits the fan. If you have, for example, somebody probably said this before me, but I didn't see anybody before me say this, and this was about 3 years ago. If you have a storage unit and you're paying a monthly fee on the storage unit, drive 1.5 plus gas tanks away. Why? Because when people can't get gas, it puts you out of their reach from the cities. Rent a storage facility in some small town, move your stuff to that storage facility, stock the storage facility full of preps, food, water, all the stuff that you need, all the self-defense tools that you need. And when it happens, instead of having nowhere to bug out to exfil to, now you have somewhere to go where you've got food, shelter, and water. And if you have a chance to get to meet some of the locals, then you can also begin to start putting together a network of people in a rural town, a small town sort of thing. If you have family members, friends who could take you in, get your plan together now. You need to have, for example, rendezvous points. So if this happens 9:30, you have kids in school, husband and wife are at work. Okay, who's getting the kids from the school? And when you get the kids from the school, where are you going to take them? You might not be able to drive. You might be on the Ankle Express. Average American works 18 miles from home. Can you walk 18 miles in one shot? If not, what do you have in your vehicle for your get home bag? These are all things that you need to consider. But here's the deal. There's always this window of opportunity when something kicks off that those people are paying attention can get the heck out of Dodge and get to their location before the interstate's plugged up, all the gas is gone, whatever the case may be. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I have no relationship with Mad Gear. Go to Mad Gear. They have these awesome dead tree format, which paper planners, where you can put together information, distribute it amongst your family. And if you have a plan, your chances of surviving and, reuniting with your family get that much better. For those people who think that, well, I'm a hunter. I might live in the city, but I'm a hunter. And I'm just going to bug out to the woods. Well, a hunter's going to stand a better chance than the average Joe. But think of the average Joe who does that. Here's a statistic for you. Look up the Great Depression when the stock market crashed. Within 3 months, it was front page news when somebody spotted a deer. Why is that? Because all of the people who that was their plan, and the population was exactly half what it is now, they stripped the countryside of edible resources in a New York minute. So we're not exfilling to the woods, and we're not all woodsmen. We're not all going to survive in the woods, and we're not all going to, kill deer and eat venison, so on and so forth. That is not a bug out plan. That is a suicide plan. So check out Mad Gear. I don't even remember if it's madgear.com or something else, whatever. They got great stuff. I have some of their stuff. Some of our guys at Survival Dispatch have it as well. Again, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So segment number 3, I titled Ideology Driving the Divide. So the inner city people in particular, and I'm not saying that as far as races are concerned, it's just a fact of life, but those people who live in dense urban centers, they typically lean towards big government fixes. The government will fix it. The government will come and help me. And just like we saw during Charlie 19, a lot of them are going to beg for lockdowns. They're going to say, we have to have lockdowns. It's the only way to make our city safe. And they're going to demand that the feds come in, or the state, and bring them food and resources. And when is the last time that you saw a federal agency respond to an emergency and actually pull it off in a widespread manner? Just look at what happened with Hurricane Helene. Look at what happened with the Palisades fires. Complete gong shows, absolute complete gong shows. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Nobody's coming to bring you food. Nobody's coming to protect you. You have to come to grips with this stuff. Now, when you live in the sticks, those people, myself included, we have a different mindset. We don't need the feds. Not only do we not need the feds, we don't want the feds. And we're pretty well equipped for just about anything you could possibly imagine. And there's an incredible dichotomy between those people who are country folk and those people who are inner city folks. And it's part of that is what's behind this, division chasm between us and them in the country, because we look at the world through vastly different lenses. And then what happens, as we've seen before, you've got the do-gooders arguing, well, we need to take all of the resources from all of the people and distribute it fairly. And most people on our side of the equation are like, over my dead body, why should my family sacrifice because you didn't do anything? Now, that may not sound like the Christian thing to do right off the bat. So people like us, Keith Graves, this is a big thing for him. We have stuff we can give away to people in need that's like a charity deal. And it's like, look, here's a bag of some stuff for you, a couple bags, 3 bags, whatever the number is. wish you the best of luck. That's all I can spare. That's more so the Christian thing to do, but you need to plan on that in advance if you can afford to do that. In other words, we've got our preps, and I see there's been a ton of talk, by the way, in our Guardian chats about Spam lately. Spam and corned beef have a lot of really, really good fats in them. It's not very expensive, and it's a great source of protein. That's a cheap way to get protein into your preps, by the way. So at the end of the day, though, when one group has and another group doesn't have, it's going to end up in conflict. It always does. It's just humankind, right? So at the end of the day, when the authorities try to apply the same rules in rural America that they're applying in urban America, that dog ain't going to hunt. And rural Americans are not going to put up with that shit, and basically are going to say, no, we're not doing that. We're not playing that game. And a lot of red states are like that as well. We did the whole, you got to slow the spread of Charlie 19 bullshit. It didn't even last a week here in Florida, and everybody's like, yeah, we got work to do. We're going back to work. And then our governor came out and said, look, like, people need to work, make money, so on and so forth. And it's one of the reasons we came through Charlie 19 better than anybody. We're also a victim of our success because the people coming, domestic migration that have come into Florida have overwhelmed our resources here, and demand goes up, price goes up, right? So there's a few things I had in the question section if I had the team with me tonight. And the first one was, how does urban faith and authorities slow down self-help compared to rural skepticism firing up? I would argue that for many, many decades now, we have had this mentality amongst a large number of Americans that the government will look after us in every way you can imagine. They will feed us if the shit hits the fan. They will provide us shelter if the shit hits the fan. They will protect us if the shit hits the fan. And myself, I think that's a very un-American thing. I think that a more traditional American thing is that we will stand on our own 2 feet. Every single person in my company is a libertarian, lowercase L, not capital L. Those guys are lunatics, the Libertarian Party. I'm talking lowercase L. So libertarians in a nutshell, and yes, it's more complex than this, but in a nutshell is basically, look, y'all do whatever you want. Leave us alone. And if you're not hurting anybody else, I don't give a shit. That's typical textbook libertarianism, and it has screwed us in the ass, by the way, because if we had taken a different stance, so I'm as much at fault as anybody for that, we wouldn't be in the current situation that we're in, because for years we're like, I had those two dudes want to get married. Yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit. Doesn't affect me. I'm not saying I said that. I'm just saying that a lot of people said that. I don't think that there should ever be same-sex marriages. Maybe some sort of civil union. So there's something as far as, when one of them is on deathbed in the hospital, the other person can speak for them, those sort of things, without having to go to get a POA and all that kind of crap. But marriage is between a man and a woman, period, full stop. But my point is that so many people that are textbook libertarians are like, I don't give a shit. Doesn't affect me. Yes, I railed against it right from the get-go. It's a bullshit deal. Marriage between a husband and wife. If that offends you, I'm not apologizing for it. So at the end of the day, we're back to the outsourcing thing. Government will provide. And unfortunately, that dog won't hunt either. So another one of the questions, if I had the panel with me, was, could ideological beefs lead to rural groups refusing aid to liberal cities or vice versa? You know what? We don't need anything from liberal cities. So no, that's not going to happen. But on the flip side, I believe that the vast majority of rural Americans are real Americans, TM Rainey Ants, who have strong Christian values and morals and beliefs and want to help other people, are not going to sacrifice their families to help somebody who is demanding that they get a share of what we have put together to protect our families and to feed our families. So is that going to lead to, beefs, fights? Yeah, absolutely. No ifs, ands, or not. So another part that I had, or another question I had in this, and then we'll pivot to the next segment. We've got 2 more segments to go through, is what's the role of politics in splitting responses like gun laws hurting city defense but helping country patrols. So we saw this during Katrina. We've seen it during other, calamities where the authorities go in and start collecting people's guns because, well, the bad guys could come and take the guns from the people who've evacuated. And there's some absolute horror stories of people's guns being confiscated and them not getting their guns back, being put through ringers, all those sort of things. If the feds start knocking on any conservative American's door saying, we're here to take your guns, that'll last all of a minute. And when people start getting shot and killed, that'll be the end of that initiative, with the exception of some of these, liberals who will do whatever the government tells them to do. But as far as real Americans, TM raining ants, that dog's not going to hunt either at all. So before we jump into segment number 4, which I titled Security Needs and Getting Around, I promised y'all I would mention a little bit more about Carnival. I do not get paid affiliate commission by these guys. If you buy something that's not a subscription, one and done, use the code EATMEAT, all one word. You will get 10% off, free shipping on everything over $99. All American meat, no mRNA, no antibiotics, no histamines. The bag's made in America. The O2 absorbers made in America. These guys are real Americans. TM raining ants by a long shot. Their product is the best of the best. 25-year shelf life. This is raw, uncooked meat that's been freeze dried. Everybody else's is cooked and loaded up with MSG and salt. And when you warm it up to eat it, you're cooking it a second time. And that's why they give you little pieces of meat that are this big, because it's like chewing on shoe leather. Not with these guys. Again, 49% year over year wholesale price increase on their part last year. They just got hit with another 15%. 2 days from now, their prices are going up. So if you can afford to sign up for a subscription, you can lock in your price for 12 months. I highly recommend that you go and do that. And I don't want to leave our friends out at wasatchwagyu.com. So wasatchwagyu.com. This is the best jerky in the world. Of course, Wagyu cows have a lot of fat in them. Look at how supple this is. This is the most amazing jerky in the world. I love jerky, but this stuff, I make sandwiches out of it. Cindy makes charcuterie boards out of it. Absolutely incredible. Another all-American family. They're his beef, by the way. If you go to wasatchwagyu.com, you can use the discount code SD20 and get 20% off. And I'll put that in the links down below. Take a pass on the dill pickle. You will not like the dill pickle. I told Greg that I will carry that cross. That will be my burden to carry. And I will look after all of his dill pickle jerky because, I need to have something I can swing like this. You're getting very sleepy. You do not like the dill pickle jerky sort of thing. But anyway, with that being said, let's get into segment number 4, security needs and getting around. So big cities, will slam the doors. They'll put barricades up all over the place. There will be curfews. There will probably be martial law, which does not exist in the Constitution, but does exist in the Insurrection Act. But because you have so much density of people, every single area is going to be like a powder keg. It's already a powder keg. Look at what's going on in Minneapolis and these other cities already, Portland and so on and so forth. We're already sitting on a powder keg. You add this into the mix, shit's going down. Like people are going to lose their damn minds, and looters will be everywhere. You will have people doing stupid shit when they're panicking. All of the first responders will be way outnumbered, We said this a while ago. How long do you think it's going to be before you see large crowds of anti-Americans assaulting ICE officers? And sure enough, it's happening. Then we also said, well, how long is it before they get shot? Well, that's happened. How long do you think it is before you got, corrupt city PD like Minneapolis shooting ICE agents doing their job? It's unfortunately, it's going to happen, and it's an absolute powder keg, like I said. But imagine that mixed in with 9/11 2.0 at the same time. You're talking a nightmare scenario. This is not a fluke. This has been engineered by the people who hate us, George Soros and the other money kings. And why is that, you might ask? Well, that's because the money kings want one world government. And we are the firewall between globalism and freedom. And why are we the firewall between globalism and freedom? Well, we are so much richer than any other nation out there. It's not even comparable. Regardless of what China tells you, they will be lucky to exceed 15 trillion this year for their GDP. Our GDP, well, I should say for 2025, our GDP is going to be north of 32 trillion, could even be 33 trillion. Number 3 is Germany, is going to be around 4.5 trillion. Then you got about 10 countries in the 3.5 trillion range. And then you got another 10 or so in that $2.5 trillion range. A little bit of perspective here, because these numbers are so much bigger than you and I can relate to. If you had $1 million and you converted it to 1 million seconds, that's 11 days of time. If you had $1 billion and converted it to seconds, that's 31.67 years. The jump from a million to a billion is astronomical. If you had $1 trillion and you converted it to 1 trillion seconds, that's 31,667 years. If our GDP is somewhere in the range of 15, 16, 17 trillion more than China, and then you convert to seconds and multiply it out, it's over 500,000 years difference. There is nobody even close to us. Don't believe what the legacy media says. So at the end of the day, because we're so wealthy and because we're so powerful and because we have more guns than anybody else in the world, we own something like 49% of the guns in the world as private citizens. They can't get their wet dream of having one world government without eliminating American, firearms and constitutional rights. And we need to remember from Civics 101, the Constitution starts with we the people. The Constitution doesn't grant you and me rights. The Constitution tells the government what we are willing to allow them to operate within. These are the sidelines. This is how you have to operate. They haven't done it. They've done a shit job of it. But that's what it is. It's us giving them the power and the rights, not the other freaking way around. And people have lost that fact. And that's a big part of our problems that we're having these days as well. So at the end of the day, pretty safe to say that these rural areas, they will have people patrolling their property, patrolling their county, their entire areas. You're going to see rednecks on ATVs, horsebacks. You're going to see a bunch of high-tech rednecks with drones that are doing recon around the perimeter, that are catching intel before mobs of people come in and try to steamroll and steal their shit. They're going to use the terrain to hide. And if it looks like there's an overwhelming force coming, they will use that terrain to hide and launch ambushes. And I'm not a proponent of violence. We don't want this violence. But if somebody attacks you, it's your God-given right to defend yourself and stand up to it. So at the end of the day, there's a serious mismatch here. You've got these lockdowns in urban centers. You've got rural people saying, no, we're not going to play that game. And we've got resources. We don't need your help. Thanks, but don't call us. We'll call you, sort of thing. And you know what? It's a lot of these people who come out of the cities that have zero experience in a country environment. They're not going to last very long. I don't give a shit what they've got for guns. They're not going to last very long. This is a brutal, brutal thing that is on the doorstep. And I don't think we can avoid it. I don't think we can avoid it. Now, I'm not saying go out and, plan on killing your fellow Americans at all. Don't do that. But if you are attacked, know what your options are. I will tell you that much. So if the panel is with me tonight, I've got some questions. One of the first questions I would ask would be, in urban gridlock, how do folks bug out without vehicles versus rural backyards, back roads, freedom? So people laughed at me when we did this about 4 years ago. We started showing e-bikes and saying, hey, you know what? Like, this is a viable option that's not overly expensive, where you can lay down some serious miles and get away from whatever calamity is going on. And then, of course, we had the people come out of the woodwork, but EMPs. The chance, here's the deal. You could set off every single nuclear device in the world over America, and you still could not blanket the country in EMPs. It is a hyped up thing that far too many people are concerned over. You have to go higher to get a bigger footprint. The higher you go, the more dissipated the EMP goes as far as its outer reaches are concerned. It ain't going to happen. What's more likely to happen is a Carrington level event, which is a CME, a coronal mass ejection. That was September 1st, 1859. And that was plasma from the sun, hits the ionosphere, engulfs the entire planet. That set telegraph wires on fire. It set telegraph machines on fire. It set telegraph operators on fire. It's estimated that it was like an X5. If we had an X5 today, and typically, you know, on a historical perspective, these are once every 100 years, so we're way overdue. It would smoke everything electronic in the entire world, but it ain't going to be EMPs. It would be a CME, which is beyond our control. So at the end of the day, we did some videos on bugging out with e-bikes. It's an affordable option. It's worth considering if you can afford it, and put it in your toolkit. If you don't need it, then that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, we love our e-bikes, and we can put serious miles down. Like, there's some e-bikes now that we run with 2 batteries on them that have almost 200 miles of range. Like, that's getting you a long ways away from harm. Other ways to bug out, you know what? Ankle Express for a lot of people, and I highly recommend against doing that. Stock up, you know, gas and keep it rotated every 90 days. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be able to exfil when the streets are covered up, and as well as people running around with, you know, armed groups of marauders. But it's better to have, here you go, JP, this one's for you. It's better to have 10 plans and only need one of them to have one plan that gets shot down. So 10 is 9, 9 is 8, so 8 is 7, 7 is 6, so on and so forth. It's actually, in my world, it's much higher than that, but I'll let JP tell you all about that one. So I'm just looking through some of the other questions that I had in today's brief. And one of the questions was, could rural militias train urban refugees, or would culture clashes blow that up? Wow. That would be a really tough question. The answer would have to be very organic and unique to each location. But good people are good people at the end of the day. And many of us, I don't care if you're from the city or the country, if you're a real American TM Rainy Nance, and we feel that you're trustworthy, of course, we would, you know, make you part of the team. It would be very un-American not to do that. Now, the people who don't know any of their neighbors, don't talk to any of their neighbors, sneer at their neighbors. We lived in a freaking gated community. I'll never do that again. And the neighbors would come in the neighborhood, hit their garage door opener. The garage door would open. They'd drive in the garage, close the garage door, and you never freaking saw them ever. Like, ever. And it's just so mind-blowing how different things are now compared to when we grew up in my case, in the 70s and 80s. So moving on to segment number 5, adapting for the long haul. So you're looking at days turning into weeks, turning into months, and the number of urban survivors will dwindle, but they're going to scramble, you know, to try and decentralize. In other words, get away from the high concentrations of people so that they have a chance to survive. Now, I don't know where they think they might go, but who knows, if things get really, really bad, it might be kind of like a Walking Dead situation. We already have the zombies with the 1,000 milligram stare, but I'm talking about people when power goes out for extended periods of time, all of the models show there will be massive numbers of people who die. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Like, we're talking upwards of 90% of Americans over the course of a couple of years. So there would be places, way stations to stop and get shelter, all that kind of stuff. But some of the things we've been preaching for years is learn how to barter and stock stuff up that you can actually barter with. I don't smoke. I might have 1 or 2 drinks a year. I don't really like alcohol, but you know what? If you got all kinds of cigarettes and booze stacked up for trading in a bartering situation, you're going to do really, really well. And those are a couple of the things. It doesn't matter how much the economy takes a shit. Doesn't matter how big of an emergency this is. People are still going to want to have their cigarettes and their booze. Mark my words. So stack up on that sort of stuff and say, you know what? I'll trade you this 5th for whatever. You know, the canned food that you've got or whatever they may have, sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I think in rural America, you would also see people, you know, come to grips pretty quickly with the fact that you can't keep everything you've got in your pantry and your kitchen. You better start setting up some caches just in case you get overrun by bad guys. And if they can still farm, I mean, golly, like if they can produce food, that's golden. Now the hard part would be, how do you defend all of that stuff? It would be a tough nut to crack, but I guarantee you, if anybody could crack that nut, it would be resourceful farmers, because this spillover of refugees from urban centers for the rural areas immediately around large urban centers, it's going to be ugly. The further away you are, it's like my wife says, it's too people-y out in Florida now. We need to go somewhere far, far away where it's not too people-y. You'd stand a much better chance of survival in this type of scenario. But at the end of the day, farmers are barterers by nature. They horse trade with each other all the time, and it's nothing new for them. But I think a lot of urban Americans have never engaged in bartering. They don't know the first thing about trading, and they don't have anything to trade at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, this remix, right? Like taking these urban refugees and, the ones who manage to make it to a rural location, and some of them are good and some of them are bad, but they try to merge into rural America. I don't have any hard and fast answers on that, other than to say that the rural locations that see a heavy influx because they're close to large urban centers, it's probably not going to be really pretty in this type of scenario. So the questions that I had queued up for the panel, if I had a panel with me tonight, are things like, could or would rural folks, country folks, be willing to teach the good people who exfil urban areas things like, how to trap, how to hunt, how to work on equipment and gear. I mean, unless something's really crazy, most farmers I know, they fix their own tractors, they fix their own dump trucks, they fix their own wagons, they fix all their own stuff. It's just part and parcel of being a farmer. So, I mean, could and would they do that? Honestly, I don't know if there's a really good answer for that, so I'm going to skip it. But anyway, at the end of the day, if this divide sticks around for any period of time, what does that look like as far as the national recovery is concerned? I think balkanization, and I've said this countless times. I think we're already on our way to balkanization, and it's only going to get worse. And the problem with balkanization is that now you have borders. Now you have lines in the sand. And the next extension of that is scary as hell, and that's civil war. So a civil war right now where you're all occupying in mixed spaces, where's the front line? Well, there really isn't a front line. But when you have, let's say, for lack of a better term, and Republicans, Democrats, two different sides of the coin, so don't take it in that context, but you have blue states, red states. Those now draw the lines. And unfortunately, I think we all know where it goes from there. We're already in Civil War 2.0. Like it has already kicked off. I guarantee you that this year will be looked back upon by future generations saying 2026, the beginning of 2026, is when the Civil War 2.0 kicked off. And that's a fact. Just look at what's going on around us. And you have people who want the Civil War that are praying for it, which is just absolutely sickening, but it is what it is. So with that being said, let's get into the conflicted question of the night here. Let me get it back up on screen. Sarge Linus received an interesting offer from a fellow Army veteran to mutiny. Sarge Linus didn't agree with the federal government's actions, so this was an easy choice. If you were in this situation and had to make this decision, what steps would you take to make sure you are forming a bond with a like-minded veteran and not falling into a trap? This one's actually pretty easy, right? So question number one, what are your pronouns? And if they say, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, you're probably our people. And then you hit them up with a few more questions. It's not that hard to figure out who's with us and who's against us. They got the mental ID bracelet stuck through their nose. They look like they fell face first into a box of fishing tackle. They're not our people. I would not promote, going against our military leaders or anything along those lines, but I think it's pretty obvious, you know, if Team Obama returns to power, they steal power again, that there will be a big number of military folks who go along with their orders. Hopefully there's more that don't than do. This is a really hard question to kind of ponder, because I can see it going either way. You know, the problem with the conflicted cards are it's one card. There's always, you know, some lack of context, basically. But I think it depends on how extreme their orders are. And if the orders are really extreme and really shitting on people's rights, then I can see more people saying, you know what, we're not doing that. Whereas if they're not way offside, I can see a lot of people saying, you know, I don't want to risk everything that I've got for this because, well, it's really not that bad. We could kind of live with this. And that type of attitude will probably be the death of us. But with that being said, this next one here, this is fantastic. This is the Carnival Hero of the Day. So we'll get that queued up. 3, 2, 1. All right. So this video has gotten huge traction today. I saw it last night just before I went to bed. This mega patriot single-handedly took on every liberal ambushing him while holding the American flag in his hands. Patriots want their country back. I stand with this hero. So the Carnival Hero of the Night, 34-second clip here. This guy's got no quit in him, by the way. He throws a couple really good haymakers. He's already thrown a couple. Look at that.
Hey, guys.
This guy, he's got some sauce on his punches. God bless him. If you think that guy right there is a real American, put a 1 in the live chat. If you don't think he's a real American, just stop following Survival Dispatch, because that is clearly a real American. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow evening at the usual time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Oh, by the way, Angel11, thank you for the $20 tip on Rumble. That's very much appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow night with the next episode in our Long War series. And to be honest with you, I don't think I put it in the brief, so I'm trying to remember. Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't put it in the brief because I knew it was just going to be me tonight. For some reason, I didn't put it in there. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, usual time. It'll be Randy, Jeff, and I at a minimum. Could be a fourth person on the panel tomorrow night. Quick reminders, go to survivaldispatch.news. This is your chance to get 40% off your Guardian membership. It works out to $4.79 a month or $47.99 a year. It gets you 2 free months. You get access to our new Element server. We've got another 600, 700 people to move from Signal over, but it's already getting lots of traffic. And our onboarding team will get you on there very quickly. Thank you to Ro, Jason P, Numachan. I know I'm forgetting somebody, Sarah, and there's other people. I think Ultramaroon is happening. Greg is helping, pardon me. But this only goes until midnight Saturday night. So now's your chance to sign up. Great deal on a Survival Dispatch News membership. Make sure you go to carnival.com in the next 2 days if you want to freeze your prices, man, because prices of beef are going up. We have a beef catastrophe on our hands. Go to wasatchwagyu.com. Use discount code SD20 to get 20% off. The code on Carnival, it's eat meat, all one word, but it doesn't apply to subscriptions because they've already been carved to the bone. So I think that's it. We got Pastor Kessel back tonight to finish the broadcast with a prayer. So with that being said, God bless America. God bless our law enforcement. God bless our troops. Enjoy Pastor Kessel's closing video.
SDM brothers and sisters, shall we pray? Precious Heavenly Father, in the light of recent developments, Lord, we pray for your supernatural protection upon Chris and Khalid and all those that are in harm's way even tonight. A blessing to those that are helping the SDN members to onboard. And We certainly thank you for Poe and Jason and others that have exhibited great patience with us all. Lord, we know that the reason for Survival Dispatch News is to increase our knowledge and thus prepare us for what may come. Let us not be destroyed for lack of knowledge, but let us desire knowledge, that we may put it to use to give that knowledge power. Lord, let us remember that all that we say and do should bring glory and honor to you. May we be ready to meet you at any moment. None of us know what day or hour you will take this life, for you have given life, and you can most certainly take it away. My prayer is that everyone hearing this might know they're standing before you on that day, that they might know that the blood of Christ cleanses us from all unrighteousness, if we would only believe this by faith, that they would know 100% sure that their eternal home is heaven. Thank you for being a loving God, a wonderful Savior, and may all glory, praise, and worship go to the name above all names. It is in the name of Jesus Christ I ask these things. Amen.